not a game. They've got to stop playing games. Remember this, too. The first time in U.S. history that any party has had the audacity to do what the Democrats and the Senate are doing right now. No one ever before has shut the government down over a clean, nonpartisan CR, because it would have been unthinkable until now. And you need to remind them of that. Yes, ma'am. Last one.
One of the beautiful bill contained numerous Medicaid anti-fraud measures. Senator Tuberville recently highlighted a slew of aliens are receiving these SNAP benefits. Are there any plans to do the same with SNAP and totally reform it just to ensure that it's available only to U.S. citizens?
You want to?
Yes, in fact, we've already done that. Now, so a couple of quick things on the, I guess the silver lining in all of this is that we're having a national conversation on our SNAP program, that this has sort of shined a light on a program that, especially under the last administration, has just become so bloated, so broken, so dysfunctional, so corrupt, that it is astonishing when you dig in. So 3 important things on that. The first, I talked about the extraordinary explosion of benefits under the last administration. And what happened was that the money that was going out was zero accountability. So one of the very first things we did when I was sworn in was send a letter to all the states and to remind everyone the SNAP program is administered through the states and the governor's office. So send a letter to all the states saying no more illegal aliens on SNAP. Period, full stop. So that's already a rule of this administration. We're working to enforce it every single day. The second thing is we began a very serious investigation into a lot of the fraud and abuse that we kept getting anecdotal stories of that no one was doing anything about. And so just in the last, I think, 6 months, we've had major dozens of arrests, people going to jail, fraudulent activity of 50 million here. One guy's registered for SNAP in 6 different states. I mean, it's one thing after another. So we are taking that extremely, extremely seriously. And we'll continue to do so. And then the third thing on this is that for the first time ever, the USDA, has asked the states for their data so that we can ensure that taxpayer dollars are being spent appropriately. Not surprisingly, all of the red states said, yes, please help us with this. We want to do the right thing. We want to make sure there's not all this corruption and fraud. By the way, 2 blue state-led governors also leaned in, Colorado and North Carolina, alongside every one of the red governors. But the other blue states, California, Oregon, New York, Washington, all of them actually sued us and said, oh no, we're not going to give you any data. So the problem is you have an extremely corrupt program, but up until this administration and with President Trump's direct focus on this and making sure every taxpayer dollar is spent appropriately, we've never really had the opportunity to dig in. So we're going to be talking a lot more about SNAP reform. We've got a lot of people listening now, which is very, very helpful, and to take that program back to its original intent of helping those who are truly needy in our communities, but not to have a massive welfare benefit where so many people are taking advantage of it that shouldn't be.
And I just want to add briefly, just zoom out a little bit. This is a stark contrast between the 2 parties, the 2 major parties in this country. We talk about the split screen in here very often. On this issue, with regard to reducing fraud, waste, and abuse in government, look, America is the greatest nation in the history of the world. We're the most powerful, most successful, most free, most benevolent nation that's ever been. Part of our benevolence, part of the spirit of America is that we do have these safety net programs. We support them. We have an extraordinary cabinet, like Brooke Rollins here, Secretary Rollins, who is handling and administrating the SNAP program is a good example of that. But Medicaid is a good example. Why were they designed and why are they so important and why do we all support those ideas? Because sometimes people really can't take care of themselves. You know, you have the elderly, the disabled, young pregnant women, for example, who are single and they're down on their luck and they need some help. SNAP and Medicaid and these other programs were intended to be a temporary safety net to help people to get back on their feet. But they have been abused. And there are some big government advocates like the Marxists, like the socialists, who want the government to take over everything and supply everything for everybody. But guess what? If the government can give you everything, it can take it away as well, and your freedom is sacrificed. Socialism, don't get me started, has been a great scourge on humanity. I mean, the tens of millions of innocent people in the 20th century alone have died because of it. America stands for something better than that, something different. But the programs don't work if they're loaded down with fraud and abuse. And every single person in this room and every American of common sense should understand the necessity of having people in office, a president in the White House, a cabinet full of secretaries who are dedicated to this in every division of the federal government, and Republicans in Congress leading on this to root out that fraud, waste, and abuse so the programs can survive. We did that in the One Big Beautiful Bill, in the Working Families Tax Cut. With Medicaid, we went into that and we eliminated the fraud, waste, and abuse. We got able-bodied young men without dependents off the program. They were never intended to be there. They're sitting around on their couches playing video games. Yes, that's an actual study, and they're siphoning the resources away from elderly people, disabled people, and young women who desperately need it. And so the funds were being depleted. We shouldn't go for that. And illegal aliens were never intended to be on any of these programs. They're for U.S. citizens only, law-abiding citizens. This is the team. The Republicans will fix that and save those programs for the country. And the Democrats will continue to abuse it. They sued the USDA for simply asking them to tell them how many illegal aliens are on the programs in California, New York, and these other states. They sued them. You need to take account of what people are doing here in each party, the leaders and the President of the United States. We are trying to get government to work more efficiently and effectively for the people, and we are getting stopped and hindered by political games by Democrats. And that's why we're so frustrated. It's got to come to an end. Thank you all for being here this morning.
Thank you, everyone.